Greetings, welcome, vanakkam. I'm making this video in the wake of the predictable and extremely concerning developments between India and Pakistan. At 1:44 a.m. on the 7th of May, the Indian Air Force mounted a very calibrated, carefully planned, precision weapons based attack on the so-called terrorist breeding centers of Pakistan. Whether or not there are terrorist breeding, training, terrorist launching centers in Pakistan is not a matter of doubt or debate. Those of us who know anything at all about Pakistan would immediately agree that fostering anti-India terrorism, aiding and abetting it to any extent, is the linchpin of both the domestic and foreign policy towards India of Pakistan. It is extremely important for us to know that anti-India terrorism is a very survival kit of the Pakistan army. If the Pakistani army is able to perpetuate, prolong its absolute stranglehold on the people of Pakistan, if the Pakistani army is able to crush democracy under its iron heels, if the Pakistani army is able to terrorize, suppress, and deny human rights, fundamental constitutional rights to the 250 million Pakistanis, the entire project is based on anti-India terrorism. The irony of the Pakistani situation, which has a direct bearing on what is happening today, that's the only reason why I'm making a mention of it. The irony of the Pakistani situation is that the Pakistani army has become a vast embodiment of terrorism for the people of Pakistan. Of course, the people in Pakistan are not in a position to say this, but ask any overseas Pakistani, visit the social media sites maintained by overseas Pakistanis, you will see exactly a repetition of what I've just now mentioned. Everyone who cares for Pakistan decries the very lamentable reality that Pakistan has become the foremost victim of its army. And so long as the army retains its present stranglehold, Pakistan becoming a democratic state is nowhere in the vicinity of reasonable expectations. Now, there is a reason why I have to mention this, and I'll come to that very presently. Now, there are many, of course, who legitimately, rightly, and humanely feel that the confrontation between India and Pakistan may come to an end with this action, punitive action on the part of India. However, I have a feeling that given the situation of the Pakistani army, they will not be able to brook this insult, what they perceive to be insult, and they will have to justify their own very existence in Pakistan, retaliate in kind. Therefore, I do expect some action, the exact scale and scope of which is not predictable at this stage, but something commensurate with what has happened just this in the early hour of this morning. Now, the main point I want to argue is as follows. So far, over the last 30 years, ever since 1971, when India very successfully helped the liberation movement in East Pakistan under the leadership of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman to become an independent nation with the name of Bangladesh. Bleeding India with 1,000 cuts has been the declared policy of Pakistan. Now, this is nowhere in doubt. It is in the public domain. This is a stated policy of Pakistan. This is a stated policy and the defining aspect of the Pakistani army. And therefore, ever since, India-Pakistan relationship has been riddled with very regrettable, extremely barbaric acts of terrorism. So far, India has reacted in terms of punitive measures. They have done this to us, so we go and hit them. The latest, of course, was Balakot, Pulwama, followed with Balakot attack. What is now abundantly clear is that these punitive measures are not good enough. They do not solve the problem. They may offer some psychological relief, but this is not the solution to the problem. Now, very significantly, Prime Minister Narendra Modi declared immediately after the Pahalgam attack happened that this time around the approach will be different. And to my mind, the most significant thing he declared, I use the word declared advisedly. He said not only the terrorists, but those who aid and abet the terrorists will also be brought to justice. Now, that is certainly a very sweeping statement, and it cannot be that the Prime Minister of India does not know that those who aid and abet terrorism against India are the Pakistani army itself. There's no question about it. So, did he mean at that time to say that the kind of solution that India is seeking for this chronic problem that we are beset with will also include decisive action against the Pakistani army? I know this is a horrendous thought. I'm not saying this in an attitude of nonchalance or some kind of romantic notions about war. I do know that war is a brutal and ugly business. I do ardently believe that war is the last possibility even to be contemplated. But unfortunately, as political scientists and political philosophers over the last 2000 years have said in one voice, unfortunately, given how nations are organized and given the brutality of international relations, there is no way to deal with such naughty international relations except through war. War, as even Immanuel Kant says, together with Hegel, war is the only credible arbiter in international relations. I remember reading in Hobbes, the British political philosopher. He said peace negotiations and armistices are all right, but all of these peace agreements are nothing without the sword. It's a recognition of the most regrettable but most inalienable reality that in the kind of global order and political outlook humankind has created for itself, there is no alternative to brute violence. I'm not a warmonger, I'm not a hawk. I would rather be a dove, but at the same time, I do not wish to live in a fool's paradise. The one thing I really want to see is India-Pakistan relationship restored on the basis of mutual respect and acceptance of each other's space. The idea that neighborly relationships can be established on the philosophy of inflicting 1,000 cuts, bleeding your neighbor to death, is completely unacceptable to me. and a system, whether national or international, which allows such an outlook to flourish is also unacceptable to me. And therefore, what I understood from the Prime Minister's statement is that this time around our response will not be punitive but prophylactic. Not punitive but prophylactic. By prophylactic, I mean preventive. Because the Prime Minister said, we'll see to it that such events do not happen again in the future. That's what is meant by preventive. And if that is the goal, then in my very humble opinion, two things have to be done. Two things, absolutely bare bottom. Without these two things, the declared goal cannot be achieved. We can launch a few missiles, drop a few bombs, and beam visuals of the damage done, etc., and create some kind of temporary, fleeting psychological satisfaction. But the problem will remain unsolved. It will remain a chronic, running sore on the neck of India. So if the solution, if the problem is to be solved, as the Prime Minister said it would be solved, I consider two things as absolutely essential, unavoidable, inevitable. What are they? I've indicated this in the very first video I made on the subject, maybe about 10-12 days ago, and those who have seen that video would recall it. To me, the first thing to be done is to ensure that General Asim Munir, whom the Pakistanis themselves call Mullah Munir, no longer continues as the Chief of Staff of Pakistani Army. Because it is as clear as noontime, it is crystal clear that all this was orchestrated directly or indirectly by Asim Munir in order to justify the otherwise indefensible situation he has created, particularly in perpetuating himself as the supreme boss of Pakistan, who decides who the president of Pakistan should be, who is the prime minister, who the cabinet ministers, who the chief justice of India, who anybody who matters in Pakistan. And also who decides whether the Pakistanis should have the constitutionally mandated human rights, fundamental rights, etc., etc. If this utterly indefensible arrangement is to continue, Asim Munir had to resort to this kind of devious tactic. And this is certainly not in any doubt. Therefore, for India to assume that the problem is solved by inflicting some destruction on certain terrorist outfits is as wise as attacking the symptoms without engaging with the root cause. The root cause is a man called General Asim Munir. There can be no doubt, and it cannot be that the government of India does not know this. It cannot be that Prime Minister Modi and Rajnath Singh, the Defence Minister of India, do not know this. So that's the first thing. And can this be done without major confrontation? Yes, it can be done. And that is what I was saying in my first video. This is where we should use diplomacy and use the clout that America has over Pakistan in order to bring about this change. If this is not achieved, the problem will never be solved. The second thing, which I consider to be absolutely essential, is restoration of democracy to Pakistan. So, insofar as the American president has quite explicitly expressed the desire that the hostile action may end on both sides, may end soon, India should get through to President Trump and say, yes, we respect your views, but we consider two conditions to be absolutely essential. One is, Asim Munir must be removed so that the message is sent to the entire army hierarchy that they cannot perpetuate themselves merely on the plank of anti-India terrorism, and that anti-India terrorism will have a cost to pay. The second thing, Free and fair elections must be conducted in Pakistan within 3 months, and a democratically elected government that represents the will of the Pakistani people, the citizens of Pakistan, must be in place. As a person who has been for some time active in the people-to-people contact between India and Pakistan, I can vouchsafe, I can guarantee that the people of India and the people of Pakistan will live in amity, in peace, in harmony, in good brotherly relationships. The real poison here is the Pakistani army. And that too, the ambition of the Pakistani generals, the corrupt generals, who think they can perpetuate their stranglehold on the people of Pakistan and the country as a whole by making India bleed. This is the most untenable situation. This is what India should not brook. We have tolerated it for too long. But then, of course, let's face the reality. These are not easy goals to achieve without the American direct involvement, America taking a stern stand. The possibility of these two goals being achieved by military action is extremely hazardous. But I would say that given the fact, as proved beyond any doubt over the last 30 years, that unless and until these two basic factors are resolved, peace between these two countries can never be established. Therefore, the chronic problem of cross-border terrorism cannot be solved. And we'll be back to square one after all this saber rattling and all this euphoria, etc. All this will amount to nothing, and that too in the immediate future. Now, if anyone entertains the wrong illusion or delusion that terrorism will end because certain terrorist networks have been bombed, all they have to do is to look at Gaza. For now 17 months, Gaza has been pounded as no other stretch of land has been pounded by the brutal might of Israel. Has terrorism been eradicated? Not at all. Not at all. Look at Lebanon. Israel is having a very tough time dealing with Hezbollah. Israel is taking very heavy casualties as I am speaking to you in Lebanon on the ground. It's not easy to deal with terrorism. It is not easy to eradicate terrorism unless and until radical solutions, absolutely radical solutions are resorted to. So let's not be naive in this respect. I fully endorse the project of the Prime Minister. I fully agree with this reading that this situation cannot be allowed to continue as it is. It has gone on for too long. We have practiced forbearance beyond the point of rationality. The time has come to confront the reality and drive the genie back into the bottle. People must be allowed to live in peace. Innocent citizens' lives need not be sacrificed so that somebody can be, at his will, the Chief of Army Staff in Pakistan. Why should Indian blood secure the authority of a Pakistani general over his own people? This is the most absurd idea imaginable. And I find it very difficult to stomach it. So, make it absolutely clear, and I am in no doubt at least on this matter, that this problem cannot be solved as many people think it can be solved. It certainly cannot be solved by bombing a few terrorist breeding grounds, if you like, training grounds, if you like, headquarters, if you like it. It's nothing of the sort. You destroy all the terrorists who are alive today, tomorrow 5 times that number will come, because the Pakistani army is absolutely, totally committed to it. Given the unemployment in Pakistan, given the terrible state of Pakistani army, given the desperation that is driving Pakistanis up the wall, it is not at all difficult to recruit In place of 1,000 terrorists today, 10,000 terrorists tomorrow. The Pakistani army has the money. Pakistan is a bankrupt country, but Pakistani army has plenty of money. So if anyone thinks that this problem will be solved by dropping a few bombs or firing a few missiles, they're seriously mistaken. At least that's the view of this. I'm no military background, but that's what contemporary realities tell us. So I hope and pray that some lasting solution to this chronic issue, most regrettably chronic issue, needs to be found. The present state cannot be allowed to be continued for any amount of time. This has to be resolved, and this is the most opportune time. I don't think a time more favorable than this to achieve this goal of solving the problem rather than merely scratching the surface will never be found. Pakistan is in deep disarray. Pakistani economy is in shambles. Balochistan is on the boil. Tremendous frustration has developed in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and other regions. The people of Pakistan as a whole are groaning under the boots of the Pakistani army. So look at it in any which way you want. This is the right time. If it is not now, it will never be. And I would say, therefore, incurring some major calculated risks to solve this problem once and for all is an acceptable idea as far as I am concerned. But then I'm not the one to execute the plan. Therefore, I leave it to the superior wisdom of those who are handling the show. I've deemed it desirable to share my thoughts with all of you. It's only, don't circulate this video. It's only meant for the attention of those who are regular members of this YouTube fellowship. I'm not an influencer of public opinion. I do not want to be, but I'm someone who believes that I have a duty to share my thoughts with those who have been traveling with me over the last 2 years. I greatly value your fellowship and your solidarity with me. And therefore, I have done this video entirely, exclusively, strictly for the attention of those who are regular members of this YouTube fellowship. Jai Hind.